There it is. That is the strike. And as I always do, he's in a secure place now. I think it's 10 days. I think it's 10 days since I last fed him. Doesn't matter too much. I mean, doesn't matter if you're that accurate, really. I mean, as long as you're 10 to 14 days out. And even if you're not, just leave it an extra week. It doesn't. It's not critical. Just go by your snake's body weight for what sex it is. You know, he's not massively overweight for a snake. In fact, he's not overweight at all. He hangs around the 100-gram mark, and that's without being pooed out. So that's a nice sized snake. And the reason I'm feeding him now is I can't remember when I last fed him. That's the truth of the matter. I can't actually remember when I last fed him. So I'm deciding to feed him all at once. It's quite a fast unconstrict. I must admit, I wonder if I can get a second strike in here. Yep. You got a second strike in as well. Here you go. I mean, some people just let them feed in the enclosure. I don't like doing that. My reason for that being, I don't like the thought of them ingesting all the substrate. As you can see, he's going to probably lock on again onto the nose. I can tell you for a fact he is, just the way he is. For me, right guys, I don't like the fact and the thought of him ingesting all that substrate while eating it. So I'll do it this way. Mate, what are you doing? What are you actually doing? You're never going to eat it that way. Never eating it that way. You might even get a second strike video here. And it can literally, now he's got the right idea, it can literally be like that. That's how patient you got to be. Now, I feed him here. I don't want him to ingest all the substrate in his enclosure, which he would do. Probably wouldn't do any harm to him, if I'm honest, because he would, the substrate I use is very, very water soluble. Like, put a bit in the water and it practically dissolves it. It's like goes to like tissue. It'd pass through him no problem. But my personal preference, I don't like that. So what I do is I let him strike, move him into this box, let him feed. Then I'll place him back into his enclosure within the box and let him slide out slither out and on his own accord. Let's face it, that don't provide any risk whatsoever. He's coming out on his own accord. All of my snakes trust me. And what I do, my hognose would actually feed out of my hand, right? Eat the food and allow me to put her back in. And she doesn't regurgitate whatsoever. That's how much my snakes trust me. And that's what I. My corn snake's just gaping wide. I've had my mice in my bedroom, frosting for quite a while. So they know it's feeding time. They've all got their heads out. But my python's not fed again. Hunger strike, definitely. But yeah, that's just the way things are with him. I don't know how to get him feeding again. Everything's right. The temperature's always been right. The humidity's right for my python. It's just hunger strike. Let nature take its course. He's at a nice weight. He's at 1,510 grams. For a male, that's quite good. In fact, that's nice. That's where you want to be. Not overweight, not underweight. Just so you want it. Not losing weight. Um, yeah. As for my hog nose, perfect again. And then we're on to Taz. He's an absolute beaut. As you can see, he is a Dodoma cross. What percentage? I don't know. And crossed with what? I don't know, because I bought him from a shop. And they couldn't be specific on what it was. But I don't care about that. I didn't care about that because my intention isn't to breed him. As all my snakes, I love every single one of them. I've got 5. And I think no less of one or the other. I'm going to turn my camera off now. My camera light. Because at 10 minutes, it's just going to shut off. So if I turn it off briefly and turn it back on, that will allow me to film in light for longer. Feeding most of my snakes today. My corns, I believe, has gone for about 3 weeks without feeding. Usually 2 weeks for me. I could have fed my pod-sided pooter last week, but my corn snake the other one was in shed. I thought the extra week ain't really doing any harm. I've turned the light back on now. Isn't doing any harm. So I'm basically going to feed them all this week. And that's the crack, really. If I turn it around this way, bring it in, focus it, you'll be able to see a bit more. Because we're going to get all the spasms coming because of the arms in the way. Some people what I'm doing now, well, to test this, but as I'll say to them, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. Now, the only reason I'm doing what I'm doing now is because it was broken. He wouldn't eat, and I found doing what I'm doing now gets him to eat. And that's it, really. Everyone's different. Everyone's snakes are different. As long as they don't regurgitate a meal after you've done it, it actually really doesn't matter. As long as that meal isn't regurgitated. And on that note, I've never had one of my snakes regurgitate a meal. Not one. In fact, ever. So it's down to the owner and what the owner feel. And let's face it, if you did regurgitate a meal, you wouldn't do it again, would you? Now, this is Taz. I should have said this at the beginning of the video. He's kept at 32.5 Celsius in temperature. Other spots of his heat mat could get slightly warmer. He's on Ignaso bedding. And he loves life, as you can tell. When I first started out snakes, and I went with corns, because that's how I first started. I got an anaphoristic corn snake, and then I ended up with a pod-sided pooter, both males. Both males, I mean. I said that a bit too fast. After that, I ended up with a hognose snake. Izzy is my anxiety snake. She's just a dream. They're all a dream, but there's something special about Izzy. After that, I got this little boy, who again has been fantastic, as all my snakes are. And then a friend of mine reached out to me and said, would I be interested in a python? Well, I had one plug socket actually left, and she wanted it coming to me as I'm a friend, blah blah blah. Has a neurological issue, and so of course I said yeah, and so I got my fifth. He's now eating it all. He's now passing it down his body. In just a second, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you me releasing him back into his enclosure. As you can see, he's getting pretty on that verge now, so I'm going to stop the video, open his enclosure, and get him back. Putting him back, it's as simple as this. He's in his enclosure. At his own leisure, it'll come up and come out, as he is now. You can see he's pretty chilled. And this is it, basically. And that's what I do. There is no right and wrong way here. By doing this, I have never had one regurgitation, and he's a very happy snake. Cheers for watching, guys. This is the end of the video. There's nothing else to film. I'll catch you all soon. Night night.